Yo, what's up? It's King Steph, and I'm here today to talk about what I think could happen next in the Culling Games. While we're on this break, I kind of just felt like I should just, go over my ideas and what could potentially happen after the Maki colony, where she's fighting Naoya, the Sakurajima colony. And honestly, I feel like after this colony, we're going to start going into more so everybody kind of starting to gather up and pretty much meet back up so they can fulfill those rules that they wanted to implement and then go on from the story from there. Now, I'm gonna just give my thoughts and ideas as to what is going to be our next foil right before we get to Kenjaku, because I don't think we're gonna go straight into Kenjaku after this. I feel like there's gonna be one more thing, and then we're gonna go face him. Now, first things first, how does Maki versus Naoya end? And since we're going into Naoya's domain in the next chapter, honestly, I already think I said this in my last chapter review. I think Naoya's domain is going to be one of the fastest domains in terms of how everything works because of his 24 frames per second. It might go up, and also we don't know if it's going to be lethal or non-lethal. Even if it is lethal or non-lethal, I feel like his domain is going to really benefit Maki in terms of feats, because we also have to take into consideration, is he going to trap in just Maki, or is it going to be all of Daido, Mio, and Noritoshi? Now, my thing is, if he only drags in Maki, then the other three have the opportunity of breaking through the domain and kind of helping out Maki. Now, the thing is, when they break open domain, they could have a scenario where they want her to break out, her so she can leave and then force Naoya to come out of his domain. Or they jump in and then his domain is still going to be active. But you got to remember, when Yuji broke into Mahito's domain to save Nanami, Mahito's domain was still active, and that's how Sukuna came out, because he automatically touched Yuji's soul, and then Sukuna almost finished him right there. And the other time we kind of had more than one person in the domain was Dagon's domain against Maki, of course, Nanami, Nobito, and eventually Toji and Megami, because they broke in themselves. Now, it would be pretty cool if a scenario like that did happen, considering Toji was a part of that, and plus this was Toji, the first time Maki saw him was during that domain battle. So it would be like things coming full circle if she actually ends up beating Naoya while he's in his domain. And honestly, I feel like that's what's gonna happen. I feel like Naoya's domain is going to be very speed driven. I don't expect him to have any other elements added to it. And I think it's gonna be pretty much him being at an unreal speed. Maybe like imagine if he's Mach speed the entire time. I feel like it might be something kind of similar to that, but obviously with his projection sorcery. So either way though, I feel obviously Maki is going to overcome this and win. Now, does anyone die during this scenario? I would say no, because of probably what I think might happen afterwards when I get into that. Because in so far every colony, no one has died, and there's clearly a reason for that. And I don't think Gege is going to kill off any of them, even Noritoshi, who pretty much has the most death flags out of everyone in the games right now. And I think all of them are going to survive. Not going to be going on scot-free though. I think maybe a couple of them are going to be pretty damaged and bruised, maybe even like severely injured to the point where they're almost gonna die. And just to give my thoughts really quick on who I think will die, I honestly see someone like Daido being killed, and of course Noritoshi, for reasons we know. Daido to me kind of gives off the vibe of someone who's kind of already done what he wanted to do and cutting up and slicing people. And plus, just the fact that he's the oldest one there, even though they're both reincarnated of him and Mio, Daido just kind of gives off that vibe of someone who would willingly die in battle as long as he's doing what he's loved. But yeah, to me, those two survive, and I feel like Mio just gives off a character that I don't really see him being off anytime soon. But you never know with Gege, he might actually implement a story element that will have both of them die, and it would actually make sense. But that's my thoughts on like Maki and everything going on in the Sakurajima colony. Post Sakurajima though, I feel like we're definitely going to go to the Angel Hana Karuzu in Tokyo Colony #1, where she was looking down on Megami. And obviously, she is incredibly important because we need her to help free Gojo. Now, I honestly, other than her technique, we don't know anything. We're pretty much just going off her name and the fact that she's been around for 1,000 years. And why was when Megami was about to attack Remy with the divine dog, why did Sumiki kind of pop into his mind, but we didn't fully see her face? We kind of got like this silhouette. And Hana's hair is very similar to that person with the black hair in the silhouette that Megami came up when he was thinking about Sumiki. And I wonder, does the angel have like ties to Sumiki? Not like in a relative sense, but like, does she know about her or something? I'm really intrigued as to why that was drawn that way, because that's what it kind of seems to me. Like she has some type of relation to Sumiki in some sort. And she also doesn't come off as hostile. So I feel like she's going to be a character we're going to have to reason with, and definitely see it not being just Megami. We have Remy there, obviously. So I don't know if she's going to play any importance really to this angel scenario that we're going to be in. But when I say not only Megami, I feel like Yuji, this is where his next thing is going to be. Because he's going to meet back up with Megami no matter what. There's no reason for Yuji to just run off somewhere and do whatever, you know, he thinks he's gonna do. He has to meet up with Megami. And just the potential of a bunch of thematic moments with the angel, which is what I like to just call her, because not only does she been around for so long, but she kind of gives off like a good evil, like a typical way of like how you view an angel. And the fact that Megami and Yuji both kind of have these conflicting ideals. Yuji doesn't really at this point view himself as a person, dang near, but he's doing these deeds. Obviously, what he feels about Shibuya, he always takes responsibility for that. And we know Megami is someone who you have to really push him to kill, because to him, that's just not something he is always comfortable doing. He kind of just does it because he needs to. And then he's got his whole ideology of what is it, a good person, the bad person, and all of that, and that we already know. So it'd be really cool if we kind of got some nice little moments there with those three. He was in Tokyo Culling #1 as well. I see Higuruma coming back and actually being a vital component in helping take down a strong opponent. Maybe Kenjaku, that would be big, or not. And as I said, I'll get into that later. We know he is all about upholding law and justice, and right now he wants to turn himself in for killing the prosecutor and judge when the barrier opens. I think before that though, he uses his domain expansion on an evil threat, saving our group in some capacity, and that will be his last act of justice. Higuruma, to me, the way he kind of walked off, you're definitely going to see him again, and I feel like this will be the complete conclusion to his character, other than him turning himself in. There's going to be a scenario where he's going up against an opponent, and he's going to be the complete opposite of Yuji. He's going to be someone that is probably just a pure criminal, someone who does a lot of the evil deeds, and the Culling Games might be like a safe haven for him. So the idea of him having one more battle and he being against someone like a criminal, I feel like that would be really cool for him to fully end his character arc before he turns himself in. Now on to our boy Yuda. He has his 200 points and will make 2 rules. He's probably going to do rule number 2 first, which is to allow players to withdraw from the Culling Games by using their 100 points to let a substitute take their place. And that's going to be the way to save Sumiki from the Culling Games. Who that substitute is going to be is honestly a hard guess. Obviously, it has to be someone that's not in the colony, so maybe it could be a surprise like Toto, but it would be kind of weird if he's just hanging around outside and not in the colony. But I feel like more than likely it's going to be like Kirara, because Kirara is just scoping out what's happening on the outside and just making sure everything's all right over there on that end. But as for the substitute, I wouldn't really expect anybody like crazy or unexpected. So I think it's just going to be someone that's going to be really helpful and someone we haven't seen in, a little bit. But staying with Yuda though, I think we know it's imminent. He will have a battle with Kenjaku near the end of the games. Also, he's got Ryu to be somewhat of an ally for him, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ryu again later on. I feel like for some reason though, we will get more Uro. Like, there's one more thing she can do as a character in her story, and I think not only just lending Yuda a hand, but also kind of getting rid of some of that hatred for Yuda and the Fujiwaras in general. Even though Yuda's a descendant of the Sugawara, that's kind of confusing, not gonna lie. So maybe she gets to do something and she can kind of complete, that part of her character. And hopefully by the time the Culling Games is over, she won't have those feelings of regret. Because look at Ryu. Pretty much Yuda took care of like everything Ryu wanted in terms of that big final battle he never had with someone that could push him. And Ryu's pretty much good. He's got nothing to really, regret for. We just haven't seen Uro have that same feeling. And I feel like we might get that later on. Looking at Tokyo Colony number 2, this powerhouse Tokyo in itself, we got Hikari, Kashimo, Charles, Panda, and Momo. That's basically the group, the whole group right there. Alright, so now they are going to add either rule 3 or 4. It's looking like 4 because of the help of Ui Ui or Yu Yu, however you say his name, and Mei Mei and Maki being able to go through the barriers. They're kind of putting rule 3 off to the side because I guess they'll just take care of that later. It's not really as important as rule number 4 right now. And we know Kashimo wants his fight with Sukuna, and Hikari is supposed to help him do that. And I don't know if Hikari understands how Yuji and Sukuna works, because if Sukuna comes out and it's because of Hikari, which I don't think that's gonna happen because that'll make Hikari look just stupid. But let's just say Sukuna comes out and it's due to this group that wants to face him because of Kashimo, very bad things are going to take place. And once Sukuna is out, there is no turning back. You have to deal with him. But if, let's say, Yuji or Megami fully explain the Sukuna situation to Hikari, he actually still might want to take the gamble on it just so he can keep his word to Kashimo. Or a scenario of Sukuna's already brought out and, Kashimo wants to fight him and, they have their big battle. And we also get to see Kashimo's technique, which is only meant for Sukuna, which I'm pretty sure that has to be a binding vow. But I think the first one is more than likely going to happen. But you never know how, Sukuna is going to pop out anyway. But then we also got Panda there. He's for support, not expecting too much from him, except for some good comedy relief here and there, of course. And then we got Charles and Momo, who also play good support roles as well. I feel like Charles is going to bother Momo for ideas on his next manga because she has a broom and she can fly, and he called her the magical girl or whatever, so we might get some little stuff like that. And then we got Charles though, because with his G staff, I always want to see this, and I don't know if we're going to, but he would be really cool support just for going up in an opponent, and let's say Akari or Kashimo's fighting somebody, and he can kind of tell them when they're going to attack ahead of time or something. Even though it's only 1 second, I just want to see how like a duo combo like that would work. This group as a whole though, I think it will just try to join up with Megami and Yuji since they're really close to one another, and they're gonna link up, and I feel like they're all gonna come together and use Tokyo number 1 as kind of like they're gathered together and kind of come up with the next plan of ideas. So that's what I think is gonna happen. Now what I want to talk about the most is who I presume to be the enemies or opponents before we finally catch up to Kenjaku and whatever he has planned. There are 10 colonies as a whole in the Culling Games right now, but we are soon going to clear 4 of them. And we made some useful allies and had some amazing fights. That means there are 6 more colonies left that we haven't seen. And I think what's going to happen is we will see in a similar introduction of how Hiruma and Kashimo were shown prior to entering the Culling Games, we're going to see who had the most points coming out of the other 6 colonies. And who were the strongest ones coming out of them, because we know part of Kenjaku's plan is to have all of the strongest sorcerers join together in the final, best of in the Culling Games, the final ones left standing. And our current group will have to probably fight the strongest of Aomori, Morioka, Nagoya, Kyoto, Osaka, and Hiroshima. Now that rule 4 will be in place for players can go colony to colony without being teleported somewhere else. And if this happens, I think we could see even more epic JujutsuKaisen fights, and this time they would mean even more because we know even more about these characters that we just met and their motives. And for those worried about like power gaps and creeps or whatever, all of these players won't be on the same level. And similar to our group, what if people in the other colonies form their own alliances, making like powerful duos or groups or something? Like the idea of Hikari and Kashimo having a fight, let's say a powerful duo from the Kyoto colony. And Kyoto in Japan is the most traditional city or area in Japan. It would be pretty dope if that happened, and Gege could go even further with Hikari going against another group of incarnated sorcerers, and Kashimo fights one of them and acknowledges that today's sorcerers are something to behold of as well. And you can even fan theorize how the whole battle would go down. And nonetheless, I think it's going to be a cool idea if we kind of have like a real battle royale of just our group fighting against those other people in the colonies that we haven't seen, because it would be kind of weird if Gege just never like acknowledge what happened over in those other colonies, because it would kind of be pointless just having them on the map. Also, like, what if Kenjaku has like another special grade card similar to Kurorushi in one of those colonies? The possibilities are endless, and we can meet more villains or antagonists that can flesh out the lore of JJK even more, or maybe just, you know, some actual other good people that we just don't know if that got trapped in these Culling Games. We can get more story arc. We can get more story through these characters, even more character arcs, and seeing more of our favorite character just go off before reaching the final boss, that is Kenjaku. And since I barely talked about him a little bit, Sukuna will be eventually released and wreak havoc. Also, if you want to know what my actual thoughts are on the end game of the Culling Games, it's going to be in the top right. I'll talk about Kenjaku a little bit more as well as Sukuna in that video, so go ahead and check it out. That's it for all my thoughts on what's next in the Culling Games. Let me know if you agree or like my ideas in the comment section. Also, even if you have your own, let me know. I like to see those as well. Can't wait until the next chapter drops, because we all know Gege, when he gets off those breaks, drops nothing but fire. So I'll holler at y'all in the next one. Peace.